Retro gaming is well and alive. We are smack in the middle of 2021, and there are so many options out there if you're a fan of retro gaming, from being able to procure original gaming consoles to the mini versions like the NES Mini Classic or the Super NES Mini Classic and the Sega Genesis Mini Classic. Of course, there's one awesome console that is difficult to emulate, the N64. And because of that, you get a lot of different types of connections and upscalers and devices that are used to connect the N64 to a modern TV. Arguably, the best way to enjoy your N64 is by hooking it up to a CRT TV, which is the way it was meant to be. But not all of us want that big, bulky box hanging out in our living room with us. So we have to find the best way to hook it up to our modern TV, whether it's an LED or an LCD, OLED, so on and so forth. The issue is the bandwidth is capped, or the output is capped by the S-video and component output coming out of the N64. So the reason why the N64 kind of looks like garbage directly coming out of the system and into your modern TV is because of its low 240p resolution. And on top of that, the N64s have hardware-driven anti-aliasing filters. Now, I'm not going to get super technical in this video. This is more of a casual video, as I'm a pretty casual gamer myself. But My Life in Gaming, an awesome YouTube website that I follow, has a great video on this topic, and I'll leave a link in the description below, so you can check that out for a really, really in-depth look and education on anti-aliasing filters and really how the N64 outputs its image. So in order to properly scale your N64 image to a modern TV, you need an upscaler, like a proper upscaler. A cheap HDMI upscaler from Amazon isn't going to do it justice at all, so I would avoid those things at all cost. If you don't want to mod your N64, I would recommend an upscaler by RetroTink. Really, any of these scalers are amazing and do a very good job. And it's probably the best out there if you don't want to mod your system. I myself have been using the RetroTink Mini to hook up my N64 to my TV up to this point. Now that I've had a chance to get my hands on the PixelFX N64Digital HDMI mod, it's a world of difference, and you'll see the examples on screen. It really shows you what the N64 graphics can actually look like if you bypass the bottleneck, which is the component and S-video output. So what this mod does is it taps into the image directly out of the processor of the N64. So with the PixelFX, it's not a plug-and-play solution. You do have to hard mod your N64. So I would highly recommend giving it to a professional, someone who's done it before, and you can find the list of recommended installers on the PixelFX website. So what I'm going to do now is show you some examples of what the N64 image looks like on a modern TV coming out of the RetroTink Mini, and I'm going to compare that with the PixelFX N64Digital HDMI. So basically, a simple way of looking at it is connecting the N64 via a RetroTink device or something similar would yield an image similar to, let's say, a VHS, if you remember what those are. So that's kind of what the N64 looks like, a decent image, but it still kind of looks like VHS. It's a little blurry. It's not the most pleasing image on a large modern TV. But with the HDMI mod, you get a pretty significant jump, and I would compare it to going from VHS to DVD. So you're still not going to all of a sudden make your N64 look like a PS4 or PS5, but you're going to get the best possible image coming out of the N64 on a modern TV. What you're achieving here is a proper 1080p scaling right out of the processor from the N64. So the image is nice and clean without the anti-aliasing and all the confinements of the original hardware. Now, what's interesting is there's a feature that you can turn on. It's a CRT scanline filter that I can turn on that I actually really like. To me, it helps hide the imperfections and the jagged lines in the image coming out of the N64. You can really see it here with text especially. It mimics the scanlines of old CRT TVs and adds a perceived sharpness. So the image tends to look a little sharper, just a little more pleasing to the eye, in my opinion. And the cool thing too is you can actually play with the saturation and how intense you want these CRT scanlines to be. So it's pretty cool, and I'm still experimenting with it. So far, this is sort of the numbers I've gotten to, and I really like the way this looks. I have the deblur turned on. I think it looks better that way, with the scanlines on at 120 saturation and 45 strength. Still playing around with the values here, but so far this setting looks good. But obviously it's very subjective, and you can tweak it for each game and tweak it to your display and see what you like. There are several other settings that you can tweak, but I'm not going to do a deep dive into the menu here. I'm sure someone else will do a better job at that, so I'm just going to leave it at these settings. A cool point to note though, you can upgrade the firmware on the mod via Wi-Fi. So there you go. It's kind of a no-brainer. If you can get your hands on one of these HDMI mods, I highly recommend them because it really opens up the N64 and it takes it to its full potential on a modern TV. And I've been really enjoying gaming on my N64 more than I ever have, to be honest with you. And it's awesome. It's great. They are sold out currently of the boards, but there will be a second wave coming out soon. So keep tabs on PixelFX. They do update their website, but they're definitely more active on Twitter. So follow them on Twitter to see when the next wave of boards come out. And let me know what you think of it. Leave a comment below, and let me know if you enjoyed the comparisons, and if you'd like me to compare any other games, I'd be happy to do so. All right, guys. Peace out.